What up guys, this is Chris with Gyroid 3D, and today I'm going to show you guys a diorama that I made, Star Wars themed diorama. I got some ideas from an artist online that does similar projects. Some of the stuff I made is 3D printed, designed and 3D printed by me, and some of the items are things I found around the house, things I just found and gave them repurposed. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a cool diorama today. All right, let's go ahead and let's do it. All right, guys, so here's a diorama I've made recently, and just want to give you a wide view of what it looks like. I can zoom in on it for you guys here, show you some of the detail. You can see these smokestacks. There's some fabric tarps up top. And I'm going to go over all these details with you guys. You can see the Mando right there. This is a TVC figure, which is a 3 3/4 inch figure. This is somewhat of like a generator. It's got some ventilation there. We got a storm drain. And I'm going to zoom in on all this stuff so you can really see it. You got this case here, like an ammunition case or for whatever. I really love all the details down here. You got these jugs, water jugs, whatever, maybe wine. I'm going to show you all these items. A lot of this stuff I 3D printed myself. I had a stencil. It was for a 3D printer. It was like a cover for a 3D printing nozzle housing, and it had this shape on it. So I actually used it as a stencil and airbrushed this logo. So it just kind of matches the theme, the Star Wars theme. Doesn't really have any meaning to it, but it's all part of the, the world, the Star Wars world. And then here, this kind of looks like somewhat of a phone, like a a box to send information. We got some wires, and let me zoom in here so you guys can really see this stuff. So I'll go ahead and start from left to right. These are smokestacks, I guess. Nothing here really has a purpose, but what these things were, these tubes, were actually paper towel tubes that I cut in half. So this is like half of a paper towel tube. The other half's over here. And that was the base for this. Then I had some cork board. So all this here is like a sheet of cork board that I just throw over top there. And you can see the cork. You can see the texture of the cork. I painted it tan to match the walls here, but that's a sheet of cork. You can kind of see it right there, how it's just glued over top. These little canisters here were 3D printed, something that I designed myself. So just two little canisters with brackets, like brass brackets around it, and then those attach to the cork. Now this piece here, was part of a X-wing that I made, part of the X-wing fuselage, or no, actually the X-wing. I don't know if it was the jets or I'm not sure what part, but the rounded parts of an X-wing. So these were spares that I had, and I keep spare parts when I 3D print something, and I ended up using those for the top of these like smokestacks. So these are leftover X-wing parts, and it's perfect because that's what the Star Wars world would do. They would reuse. So here's another part, and then on the opposite side, the X-wing pieces. And I think I just had this little plastic piece here. I glued it on just to add detail. Opposite side, I had a slightly bigger piece, and that's all painted brown. Then I have the rust color up top, and then on this side I have what looks like some kind of something with the phone company or electrical company. So it's some kind of an electrical unit, and I have this plastic piece lying around underneath. I added it to the bottom, and then I ran wires, or it's thread that you'll see. This thread just kind of looped over this bigger wire, and then those meet right over here on this heat sink. So this is just something I printed as well. I wanted something in the center to resemble a heat sink. So the wires connect to this unit, and oh, you can see the striping up here on this fabric. So this fabric I had actually is fraying on the ends, but I left the fraying, and there's a little bit of paint that I painted on there for weathering, but there's also dust all over this thing, which I didn't remove. The dust actually adds to the dirtiness of the project. So I did some striping here as if that meant something, but it really fits the look. And then the wiring continues with that thread, that thin thread, and those connect over here to this piece here. If we come down, you'll see this piece, which I found literally found on the floor somewhere. Or no, I think I found it at a bin store, and it's some kind of a cartridge for like an airsoft gun or something. I thought it looked amazing and it would fit good on my project. I used the turquoise paint on this. This is supposed to resemble some kind of a generator, and it also has a lot of that ventilation, and it has a piece of foam in it. So if you really look in the cracks, there's foam in there. So I just thought that was an amazing piece. It would look good on this diorama, and literally you can use anything. You can use anything um, already. The stuff that's already molded and made. These are pieces I 3D printed, didn't have a use for, so I repurposed them. This piece was to an actual product that I just reused, and then this doorway. If we move the Mando out of here, this doorway I 3D printed. So the weathering was all painted by me. There's rust, there's turquoise paint. At one point, this thing was probably perfectly painted turquoise and then rusted over. You see the lighting features here in the walkway. Those are like supposed to resemble lights. And then I weathered the door, which I painted orange, like a burnt orange. Has a little light panel there, or a switch to open the door. And that on its own was just a lot of this stuff is not attached. I didn't finish it off. So there you can see the door is glued into this cardstock that I use for the back. This is all like poster board, like that foam board, and there's two layers of it. The back layer kind of has these steps to it, and actually I forgot to mention these little clips here that hold the fabric are 3D printed. I designed those, and then the door is not permanently attached, but for now it's like that. And I 3D designed these pipes. This is a simple project to make, 3D printing. I use 3D Builder. I was showing that before, 3D Builder. So you use cylinders, and then I used a sphere, and then another cylinder going back, and then two more cylinders to make it look like a legit tube. So in this diorama, water is running through here, hot and cold water, and I painted those to look rusted as well. This is the whole top section of this diorama. And the thing that really made me want to make this, there was a creator online that was making a similar diorama, and he used this exact looking, I guess you'd call it like a platform. This platform here. What I did was I watched his video and I made my own platform. It resembled it as close as possible. So it had this, this wrought iron, this iron pattern down here, and then every little detail, these legs, I copied straight from his video. I looked at it and said, okay, I'm gonna design that exact same thing. So here you got the grating. There's holes you can see right through the floor. I did a paint of turquoise with that rust and dirt color. So I did have to purchase rust paints. I think I bought a 3-pack, and I can show those at the end of the video. And I did the staircase here with I think the staircase I found somewhere online. The files were available for a staircase, and I probably had to extend it to fit exactly the height and everything. And I believe this barrel here was already available. So some of these things I get, other people created, other people made. And then these 2 jugs here, I designed. So as you can see, they flare out a little bit, and then they go back to the cylinder shape, and they're hollowed out. So you could probably actually put liquid in this. But I did all the weathering. I stuck with that. I think this is not a turquoise. This is more of a blue. It's not the same turquoise as you see used throughout, but yeah, it's still similar. And then this piece here, I'm really going to have to show you guys how I created this. I think this looks amazing. Again, it's just a little storage container. And can you guys guess what this is, what it's made of? I made a little switch panel here. It's like a maroon color with a lot of browns. It's really dirtied up. Have you guys guessed yet? I'll show you guys what that is made from right now. Let me just fix this up. But I mean, yeah, you literally can use anything. I make things. I take other people's files, and then I repurpose things. So the combination of all those factors is really what makes these dioramas stand out. And let me grab real quick what I used to make that specific barrel. It's a Mentos container. It's a gum container, gum dispenser. So when I saw this, the shape on it, I ripped off the label. I have another one here for later, but yeah, you can use that and make one of these cool diorama pieces. So let's talk about this. This is a storage container. You can store anything in here. I mean, I said ammunition, but I think it's more of like produce, products. Because after all, this whole diorama is kind of like a industrial themed. I figure it's kind of like in Star Wars where in The Mandalorian they showed up to a dock and there's all the fish aliens, and this is like the port. Maybe they deliver products up here, fish products. Then they come out of this door and pick up their products for the day. So it's really dirty. It's not clean at all. It's like a dock, a loading dock. I have this piece here, and this piece here came off of a man's razor. So I don't know if this is like the cover for a razor. I'm not sure if you guys can really see that. Yeah, it's just a cover for a razor, and it has all the little slits in it to cut your beard and mustache. But that's a piece I found somewhere on the floor. I'm like, that is going on my diorama. And this is a storm drain that I designed. So I literally designed this in 3D Builder, glued it on, and it's supposed to resemble water coming out of here, drainage. And yeah, back to this container here. So this could be something that the fish are delivered in. You know, the sailors go out, they catch a bunch of fish. It has these little slits, breathing holes, drainage holes. Again, I went ahead and weathered all this stuff myself. A lot of rust. I think when it's like something that's going to be in the back, I don't do as good as. See, this is the back, so I kind of probably sped through that paint job, and what's on the front is, this is going to be seen, so I took my time with it. Of course, I made it hollowed out, so I'm sure I primed it. That's why it's gray. And you see the water dripping here in the background, all the way down to the floor. Then the floor is painted more like a sand color. This is supposed to represent sand, dirt, and of course around the stairs you'll get a lot more dirt because they're walking up and down these stairs here. So it looks lived in. Down here I have a metal ring hanging here, so that could be whatever you want it to be, but it's just a piece of metal that I found. And dioramas that I've seen before did have things hanging on the wall. I found this metal plate, just walking around. It's just a piece of metal. It's broken off and looks rusty. I'm like, yep, that's going on my diorama. So there's so many things you can find, you can make, you can print from other people's files, anything that has a good shape. So again, this was a gum container, and I kept that. And I think originally I was going to put more down here, maybe some, I don't know, some pipes, just little things in the background kind of hanging, or another container with like fishing rods or something like that. But sometimes when I make things, I don't really finish them. I get 75-80% done with something, and I move on to something else. So that just tends to happen. Then you can put your figures on there, and truth is I have nowhere to put this. It's just on one of my dresser drawers, and I don't want to get rid of it, but I love making things, and then I don't know where to put them. So real quick, I want to show this doorway here. I did want to sell this on my Etsy store, and I have one here that I made. For Black Series figures. So this is of course TVC, which are 3 3/4 inch figures, and I have one here that I made for 6-inch figures. No, I don't really have any figures with me at the moment, but here's a boxed figure that's 6-inch. So you kind of see the size comparison, but I printed this in silver and then bronze, and then the door in orange, and then actually my multicolored AMS on my Bamboo Labs printed these little lights in white, so I wouldn't have to go in there and paint them. But I thought of offering these on my Etsy store. It would come similar to this. I would do a little bit of weathering, not too much, but some silver paint, some bronze paint. I weathered the door slightly, as you can see. It's not weathered, like, it's not weathered as much as I weathered this diorama, but I wanted to offer it for an affordable price. So I don't know if this is something you guys would be interested in, but they would come. It would come in two pieces. So this door frame, and then you can see the doors. I just have it taped on here, but the door would be one piece, the frame would be another. So I might put this on my Etsy shop soon, see how it does, see if you guys are interested in that. Another thing I wanted to show was um, when making some of these diorama pieces, like these containers here, these jugs that I made, there's people that take items, like this gum container and turn it into a diorama piece, or this airsoft piece that I turned into a event. And so there was a guy who used, it was, well, let me just go ahead and show what it looked like. But he made this Rebel Alliance diorama piece that was kind of like a beacon, and he added a red light on top. So it had a little light and I guess a small battery inside. And it's just a diorama piece that he put in his collection, and it looked just like this. And what it was something he bought at Dollar Tree. So when you open it, it would have a tool inside that was a screwdriver, and then all around the screwdriver, or all around here, it had different heads. So Phillips, flathead, Allen, screw heads, and this was a tool that he got at Dollar Tree. Had tools inside, and he turned it into this beacon. Well, I went to Dollar Tree, couldn't find it, so he probably made the video a year or two, prior, and they no longer sell this. So I designed this in 3D Builder. You can see the layer lines. Didn't come out perfect, but I just painted over it. I didn't really care about layer lines and perfection, but I basically copied the shape of the item that he used. So it was an actual item that Dollar Tree sold. And in 3D Builder, I went ahead and designed my own and just copied the shape of this little screwdriver container because I loved the shape of it. And so if you can't find something like this gum container and you wanted this shape in your dioramas, you could make something like that in 3D Builder if you couldn't find it. So this is something that somebody found at a Dollar Tree, used it as a diorama piece. I couldn't find it, so I designed it in 3D Builder, and that's just an example of something you guys can do too. One final thing, I just wanted to show you guys the pigments that I used for a lot of the rust in this diorama. The company is Ammo, so it's Ammo brand pigments. And honestly, I didn't know these were going to be powders, so they're just pigment. When you open these up, it's just straight powder. And if you add a little bit of that powder to a little paint tray, and you add a little bit of water, you literally have to make your own paint out of these pigments. And so I went ahead and did that. You have track rust. So I believe that's, like train track rust. It's like a dark brown. You have light rust, which is basically the main ingredient in creating a rust look. And then medium rust. And they kind of go hand in hand. You want to kind of layer the medium rust and the light rust. Medium rust looks like that bronzy look, and medium rust, a little darker, but they work well together. Actually, all three of these work well. together, and that's how I achieved a lot of my rust looks. So of course I added turquoise paint to give it the look that at one point this was painted completely turquoise, but over time paint chips and you end up with these rust spots, figuring this is made out of metal. A lot of these pieces start rusting. So the medium brown is mixed in here. So you might see some medium spots and then some lighter rust. So they're just kind of mixed together. And the brown, which is called track rust, it's also mixed in. So I just found the best way to do this was to use all three in layers. And this might be the track rust right here, this darker brown. Sometimes I use blacks in the cracks to weather as well, but I think that track brown is used right in there. So I also used those colors, those pigments in this jar here. So I painted the whole thing. It's like a blue. It's a type of blue. It's not turquoise. And then I put rust, and here you could see a lot of the dark track, called track rust. So the darker one I used in a lot of the areas here. And it looks like it just peeled, the paint peeled off, and it's like that darker rust color. And then you got some of the medium and lighter tones. I mean, these things are so fun to paint. I mean, the possibilities are endless. So right around the lip here where it's going to get a lot of use, just almost no paint. And so I think about that when I paint things. Where would the most wear be? The base as well. And then around these edges, where if this rolled down a hill, it's going to hit and chip in those areas, or what's going to bump into it. It's going to bump into here. So you think about that when I do paint jobs, I think about that. Did the same up here with this vent. I'm not sure if they sell these in paints or just pigments, but I kind of accidentally bought the pigments, so they came in powder form. So you just have to add water to them and they turn into paints. But I mean, this piece here looks like it's actual rust. It's like literally rusted, because this is real metal. And I don't know if it shows on camera, but it looks like real rust. And then my platform here. So you kind of just do it to your taste, You think where there would be rust, people walking up these stairs, the center of these steps are going to be all worn out. No more paint. Paint's going to be in the edges where nobody walks. And then on this platform, there's a big old dirt spot where these shipments get taken in every single day to this warehouse. So anyway, it's just the fun of doing a diorama. When it rains, all this dirt drips down from the roof. And so, making things dirty is so much fun. It's fun. So you guys can do something like this at your house. The possibilities are literally endless. So get yourself some ammo pigments if you want to do rust jobs. It's literally called light rust. I used to use silvers, so if you don't have light rust, get yourself some silver, copper paint, and literally all this was painted using copper paint. It's a little bit more metallic, but it still resembles rust. Alright guys, so this is my diorama. Get some foam board for the base. Use some tacky glue to tacky up all the foam board, and then go to town with all your 3D printed greeblies. And that's going to wrap it up for today, guys. I just wanted to give you some quick tips on how you can make a diorama for yourself, for your figures. Get yourself some ammo rust paints, get yourself some foam board, some tacky glue, cardboard. Go find some items around the house and the trash. Don't throw them away. Paint them. Turn them into something. So if there's anything you guys want to do, pursue, or make, I would say get up. It's time to get creative. If you guys like these videos, leave a comment below. What would you like to see next? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and set your notification bell. This is Chris with Gyroid 3D.